Hey YouTube. Sorry I haven't been online for the last couple weeks. I had to switch ISPs. Long story. I don't even want to get into it. But anyway, it took me a while to get back online, but I'm here. We're ready to go. So, let me tell you guys a story. It's an old Indian or some say Chinese story. The origin of it is not exactly clear, but we do know that it's a really old tale. So long ago, there was a traveling merchant who traveled to a far off kingdom, and he met with a king. And he showed the king a chessboard, and he showed him the game of chess. And after demonstrating the game for a few minutes, the king really liked the game. So he said to the salesman, "Hey, I really like your game. I'd like to buy it. How much would you sell this game for?" So the chess player said, "You wouldn't be able to afford it." To which the king said, "Oh, please, anything you want. All the gold in my kingdom. How much would you want for this chess set?" So the chess player says to him, "I don't want gold. Instead, give me rice." Or some other accounts say that he asked for grain. The king, thinking that this is a real simple request, said, "Okay, sure. How much grain do you want?" He said, "What I want you to do is for each square on this board, I want you to put one rice grain starting from the bottom left corner. And then when you get to the second square, I want two. Then to the third square, I want three." And he continued all the way up. A chessboard has 64 squares. Now, for those of you who aren't math majors, you cannot. I'll tell you that that's a lot of rice grains. In fact, somebody did the calculation. It's close to 18 trillion grains of rice. Now, the king, of course, agreed to this, not knowing the details or not thinking far enough ahead at what the potential ramifications of this request might be. And in the end, when he finally found out how much grains of rice it was, there are varying accounts about what happened. Some say that the chess player became the richest man in the known world at the time, because the person who controls the food supply has the power. And others said that the king executed him. But I'd like to add my own spin on it. And if I was the king in that situation, I'd agree that he can have as much rice as he could carry on a horse. But regardless of the story, and regardless of the ending, the point is pretty clear. It's talking about the idea of not thinking about the big picture and being caught up in the minute details and only looking one move ahead at a time. The best chess players in the world think 5 to 6 moves way ahead before they make their first move. And they've already calculated every possible option that their opponent can possibly make. And in so doing, you're able to control the odds. What we're seeing happening right now and in society is a general shift away from this big, broad way of thinking and a focus on just a narrow way of thinking, focusing on things about short-term profits without looking at the long-term effect that it can have on society or on people. Now, specifically, if you've been paying attention to the news, you know that the big story in the news is that Hillary Clinton is coming out saying that she is against the TPP. Of course, after spending months, if not years, going from country to country as Secretary of State, negotiating the terms of the TPP. And she does this during the middle of an election year. Now, you'll also hear Obama going on TV talking about how the TPP, how wonderful the TPP is. These trade deals and trade deals like this are nothing new. This can trace its roots all the way back to Nixon when he first started normalizing relationships with China, and it goes way back, even before then. It's a continuation of a culture in which we put the short-term profits of a few people over the greater good of all of the society. And the thing about this, what's extremely frustrating, is that it's such a short-sighted and narrow-minded way of thinking. And the people who we're making these deals with are not making the same mistakes that we are. We'll give China all of our jobs. We'll ship all our corporations overseas to them, all our engineering. We'll open up companies in India, etc., and have their engineers come over here and get trained, and then they go back, work there, and then they'll close the factory in America and just open in India and just sell their products here. Well, what that does is that it drains our society of our resources, our knowledge resources. And it also drains our society of our manufacturing ability. And the long-term effect of that is that we'll have a country where we're not producing anything, and it's impossible for us to produce anything. All we can do is consume. And the TPP is just another continuation of this trend. And it's a downward trend. And in the meantime, countries like India and China are accelerating, are moving forward as a society. Just 2 weeks ago, China unveiled their newest bus. It's an elevated bus that's the width of a 2-lane highway. And it's elevated, so whenever the bus stops, cars can pass underneath it. This is an amazing engineering marvel. And it happened in China. Why is it that we as a country aren't focusing on doing things like that? Light rail technology, monorails, has existed for decades now. Yet there's not one in this country. Why is that? The reason for it is very simple. It's because we put short-term profitability over the greater good of society. The reason why our businesses can compete, at least one of the reasons why our businesses can compete with a lot of Chinese imports, is simply, and this is the most common reason what they'll give you, is that the Chinese government heavily subsidize their imports. But no, I'd argue that the reason why we can't compete is because our businesses are too focused on profitability to the point where we're pricing ourselves out of the market. The GoPro is probably a really good example of that. The initial idea for it was to be a really cheap disposable action camera. But now you're selling one GoPro for the price for $400, and a Chinese copy will sell for $60. And it's not just about build quality in that situation or paying wages to American workers, etc. No, this has everything to do with greed. The fact that we have to have CEOs here that have to make 500, 600, 800 times as much as their workers in order to be seen as a successful company. We have a system here where a company can lay off 300 or 400 people and their stock price goes up. Even though they made less sales than the previous year, their stock price goes up. And their CEOs pat themselves on the back for a job well done. The incentives are all reverse from what they're supposed to be and from what we need for a functioning society. And long term, this will not end well for us. So now the question that you're asking is, what can we do? What's the future for us? Is it all just going to be doom and gloom? And my answer is no, because of you. We're already seeing a trend in society of millennials, young people, coming with a completely fresh and new way of thinking. We're moving away from the ideas of materialism and we're focusing more on the greater good of society. And this is a necessary thing that had to happen and will happen. And as long as this trend continues, I am very, very optimistic of where we're going to go for the future. It's time that we move away from this culture of only thinking about ourselves and only caring about my game, only focusing on the next move. And we need to look at it in the grand scheme of things. We need to have a big picture vision. We need to see the whole board, not just the piece right in front of us. And in so doing, I think that we stand a chance of changing society for the good. Thank you for watching again. And I'll try to get other videos uploaded quicker. Now that I have internet access, it should be a lot smoother and a lot quicker. Let me know if you like this video, and yeah, thank you for watching.